What's up, everyone? Welcome to Barstool Breakdown. Today is Saturday, February 3rd, and we got a great show for you today, followed up with an awesome interview with Chris Clemmer. We talk about how we got into Barstool. We talk about the rat race. We talk about all the drama going on with Ohio State and Barstool Radio. And we're going to have some awesome content coming up in this next week because Jonathan and I are going to Vegas for Super Bowl week. So let's get it.
Get sturdy as fuck. This is it.
I should be over all the butterflies, but I'm into you. And baby, even on the worst nights, I'm into you.
All right, welcome to Barstool Breakdown. I'm Frankie, here with my co-host Jonathan, recording on a Thursday night. Both of us have to go to work tomorrow, I believe. Is that correct, Jonathan?
That is correct. I do work on Fridays, like most of us. I'm gonna do my hair, Frankie. I'm gonna do my hair. I'm gonna get ready. I'm gonna go to work, and I'm not gonna have no problems with it. Not one.
Yep.
No problems.
We'll go to work and we'll still get the podcast out for you guys on Saturday. That's just the way you fucking grind.
Well, I mean, whatever. Everyone's got a different kind of grind. I mean, once you start to step on, the ladder and go up a little bit, I guess you can take off some Fridays. But
Hey, if I got the job and I earned it or felt I earned it, shit, I'd do it too. It's just don't have that pleasure, unfortunately. But
it's just the excuse, really. If you want to hop into it, it's the excuse. I mean, we talk about it a little bit in our interview, which another great reason for the breakdown to be out on time because we're not even going to touch on the top three because I feel like we went through it in the interview. So please stay tuned for that.
Yep.
The interview this week was phenomenal. Thank you already to Chris Clemmer. But yeah, why do a top three? I think we probably just roll right into it, Frankie.
Yeah, so we'll skip the top three today because honestly, we talk a lot about it with Klemmer. We'll probably hit most of it in the Barstool Beast, Least, and Beef, stuff like that. So without further ado, let's get right into the Barstool Beast of the Week.
Yeah! I'm the best of the orphanage! I am the best one here!
All right. I assume that it's going to be unanimous, so I have a backup because I want to make sure that we at least touch on someone else who's very much deserving. So you go ahead.
Yeah, I have it here written in my notes. It says Ohio's Tate, obvious reasons. So not only did he, he just, I don't want to ruin it all too much, but I mean, he blog bodied the whole New York office. It's just what he did. He was a beast. He was talking about going part-time. And what really pissed him off is how you opened the show, Frankie. There was a comment that Kelly Keegs made about not wanting to work on Fridays because she, wants to do her makeup and doesn't want, she wants to sit home and blog on Friday. So Ohio State took that and ran with it, took off with it. It was a marathon run. He was Forrest Gump running down the road. And that's what really started this whole trickle effect. And then, you see Barstool Radio get canceled. And we talked a little bit about Ohio State last week to end it all, which is putting the dog in a body bag. Crazy. And that actually, I lied. That's not even the ending. The ending was because of his great blogging and what he's done for the blog this week. I mean, this is the most I've ever read the blog in a week. It feels like everyone's talking about it. There's 100%. Still blogs coming out about it. Francis still going. John Rich gave his thoughts on it in a blog. It's just it's been absolutely incredible. And then shout out Davey's blog. Davey Page Views. He apologized to Ebony for accusing her of stealing snacks. Yeah. But I only read that because I was like, maybe this is a setup. He's got to address it at some point. But he was too busy offering a job to Tate to address it. Like he was like, this guy, this is what we want. We want people that are ready to hash it out. So it's gonna make Tate going forward in the future. He wrote a blog again today about it, like saying he doesn't want to go to New York, but I kind of feel like that's where he needs to go. Kind of feel like he's got to mix it up. He's got to answer for his actions. You got to go in there and show your Tate face, buddy. Those teardrops ain't on there in real life. It's time to speak. But right now, he's the beast. Right now, he's the beast.
Yeah. No, rightfully so, deserving. Kind of crazy, too, because in my head, I was like, there's only one spot for him. It's New York. That's where else would he go? Unless he stays remote, that's the spot. But it was funny because today on the Yak, Big Cat was saying like, well, he didn't say anything bad about us, so I guess he's coming to Chicago. I go, well, I'll take him, whatever. And they were all like very much like open arms. It was kind of funny. And I was like, man, that'd be cool, I guess. But like, if he's a blogger, I want him in New York. You know what I mean? Just mixing it up there because he'll get pissed at Nate. He'll get pissed at Hubs, whatever. That's what I want to see. So, very deserving beast. He absolutely eviscerated the Barstool Radio crew, which we'll get into a little bit more too, I guess, later. But like I said, I had a backup beast because, and I told him this too on Twitter. I was like, you're absolutely going to be talked about in a positive light on our podcast. And I'm saying this because he's going to be the Barstool Beast of the Week for me. And it is Dukes, because he came out, killed it on the rat race. Before I even go to that, he did the Ed Cooley Man on the Street, which was hilarious. Honestly, Man on the Street videos are hard, and hard to like stay engaged too. If it's not Nikki Clicky, if it's not KB, it's hard to really stay engaged. And even them, sometimes they've even said like, I don't even know how people are going to watch this video. But when he did that Ed Cooley, he had some good one-liners. He was asking funny questions. He didn't do the who should have the MVP should have been. He was very much, with his words and stuff. And then, like I said, on the rat race, the guy was an absolute star. I mean, he
Yeah,
needs to get
amazing.
credit when credit's due. He was on the Three Stooges. I mean, he made himself look like Einstein, and the other two look like a bunch of morons because they're questioning him when he's getting all the answers in like 5 seconds. He'd read the first sentence and be like, "Oh, it's the New York Public Library," and they're like, do we just trust him right now? Like, I was like, yeah, you do. It's funny. Like I said in the interview later, I said my wife and I watched it, and it's like she was like, that guy's pretty good or whatever. Like, she didn't say smart specifically, but she's like, that guy's like gets this stuff quick, whatever. Like, and it's funny because I was like, yeah, and he's on the Three Stooges team technically. Like, it's crazy
Right.
because like he dominated that game.
Yeah,
Oh, not to mention the final part. They said, Gia specifically, friend of the program, said, "Oh, I bet you Duke's just so stupid he has his Snapchat location on." And Tommy was backing him up, and Fran was backing her up. Meanwhile, who was the one with the Snapchat location on? It was Gia. So
Yeah,
they knew
yeah,
where
she
they were,
wasn't
and he was
ghosting.
in ghost mode. Absolute elite play.
Yeah,
And then, of course, the clip that we posted where he's like, "These females can't be faster than men."
Yeah,
It's
he got a little
ridiculous.
misogenic there. He got a little misogenic there. But the beast is warranted. He showed up for Team No Brain, and there was one big brain. He knew where to go. He was ready. He's ready. He called all the actions. He was the first to go to the subway. Yeah, he absolutely deserved it. And yeah, Men on the Street in Providence. Shout out Healthy Debate. I feel like Healthy Debate and that whole crew. I mean, I got some beefs with what
Killing
Rico's
it.
actions this week, but I mean, when you talk about Jet Ski, Meek Phil, and Rico in the booth, those guys. I mean, yeah, thriving,
Dukes.
absolutely. Duke's well
Yeah.
deserved, man. Yeah, he crushed it.
Then let's lead right into the Barstool Least of the Week.
Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah,
It's just Barstool Radio.
yeah,
Specifically Keegs, Francis, Nate. Um, I mean, I think they know it. Francis clearly knows it. He wrote it in his blog. The losers were Keegs, him, and Nate. And the winners were, Klemmer, Tate, and crew. So, yeah, I mean, like I said just a second ago, Tate eviscerated every one of them. Francis even said he was trying to dig up dirt on Tate and couldn't do it, which could be a reason why Tate doesn't want to kind of put his face out there, even though he's going to have to if he's got a full-time job now. That's just part of the Barstool way, part of the Portnoy way. But yeah, I mean, for Francis, who's a smart dude and very well, written and stuff like that, for him not to be able to find anything to write about and rip on him about, pretty impressive, honestly. So those three specifically are the Barstool Least of the Week for me.
yeah. It was. I mean, it was the radio squad. I mean, Tommy deserves to be thrown in there for not stepping up and saying anything. Pat deserves to be thrown in there for not stepping up and saying anything. Yeah, it was, and Gia too. Gia too. She's content now. If you're content, you got to know what makes content. That makes content. But there's not much more to add to it. We've seen it. I think Francis took the L well. If we want to get into it, Francis took
Yep.
the L well. He wrote a blog like saying he's part of the losers. Kelly Keegs did not. She's still, it seems like she doesn't got it. She doesn't. But she did retweet me this week, so shout out Keegs. Still the New York president. But yeah, it's just you got to wear it when you lose a fight. You got to wear it, and you got to come back better. Or at least come back with a little fire. You can't just ignore it. So that makes that whole cast, Barstool Least of the week.
Yeah, like you always say, minor setback for a major comeback. Hopefully,
Right. Yeah.
it's like we talk about in the interview with Klemmer. He said, people say they want the New York office to shut down. Like, that's not what we want at all. I don't think true stoolies want that at all either. They just want
No.
the content to be pumped out of there a little bit better. And, like we've said before, if Roan was in more of it, and that's why I didn't throw Pat and Tommy in there. I feel like when Pat and Tommy are in the content, it's actually pretty decent out of New York. But it's just tough right now. It's like they did the split and they're trying to just figure out who they are in New York, just like Chicago kind of found their footing pretty quick because they got the new office, the new stuff, and kind of just rolled with it. So, deserving least for those guys though. So hopefully they'll be coming back strong.
Yeah, absolutely, and one of the best beefs of the week too, because of this beef and the beast and the least we talked about. So I think let's just let it roll and roll right into it, Frankie.
Fuck you! Well, fuck you too! Oh, my God! What? Brandon,
We've been talking about a couple of the biggest beefs already. We've talked about the Tate and radio enough, it seems like, but there was another pretty major beef. You still got Dave quote tweeting Rico when he's trying to explain it. So it was Pick Central, mostly sports. Titus got fired up because he was talking about time slots for the new show with Dave, Witt, and Kirk. And Titus, I feel like it was one of those content things where you kind of just you're saying something, you're trying to get yourself worked up, and then he actually got
Yep.
worked up and he started to trigger old memories type
Yeah.
stuff. And yeah, he let it out. And when Pick Central heard that, they were like, "Hey, what? Like what?" And Ev's calling him a douchebag. Marty's always had problems with him. Rico leaves the room, and then our dog Klemmer over there was like, "Call him. Let's talk." Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Right.
And then Brandon was kind of trying to stay out of it, but Brandon was the one that had the whole case race argument. But he didn't leave the room. That's the biggest thing for me. But I guess you can't when it's a 2-man show. Which is a great show, by the way. But yeah, hell of a beef there between, and that's more of the New York versus Chicago rivalry. You're getting more of it. As much, and it just played so perfectly. This whole week was incredible, and I loved all the beefs. I know people do get a little fed up with it. They are inside the game, but that's part of the game. Mostly sports and Pick Central, though. My Barstool beef for the week.
Yeah, so that's a good one. And of course, I'm glad you picked that because mine obviously was Ohio State versus basically the entire New York office. You saw the new video that Dukes put out, and it had Frank saying like, "Oh, show your face." Klemmer was like, "Oh, hopefully you'll be on content now, whatever." So that was my beef, but we talked about that enough, I think. So I'll just touch on yours a little bit because I thought it was a great beef in the sense of Titus, like, I mean, we say it all the time. Neil loves to say it, but he's gutted. Like, he just came in and he just immediately is gutted. Like, he knows he's got like, he's just Barstool in and out. Like, he should have been working there from the beginning. Even Big Cat used to always say that. Like, how do you not work for us? People think you work for us. Like, he went in, he got a little overworked up, like you said, and then actually gave his real feelings, whatever. Might have said something that was, a little bit too far, I guess, for Ev and for, maybe Clemmer or whatever. But you could tell when he was apologizing, because I was at first like, I'm like, oh, he's going to immediately just squash this with Ev the day of. It's not even going to be a thing. But he never shied away from saying that, like, him and Marty really don't get it, like, don't get along, or him and Rico don't really get along. But he kept saying, like, I don't really know why. Like, I don't really care, like, whatever. But you could see he was throwing little jabs out there. So that was a very good beef of the week that needed to be thrown out there. So good job.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate the props.
Well, it's hard. It's hard when you got Ohio's Tate just dominating everyone in the office, and it's the biggest thing talked at Barstool, and then it gets, that gets completely, that overshadows this little beef we're talking about so much. Whereas if that Ohio's Tate thing wasn't going on, Dave would have been quote tweeting Titus and shit. Like you said, that would have been even bigger. All right, well, let's end it off here with the comment of the week.
Vacation mode. Kite! I'm flying a kite right now. Let's go.
All right, let me go ahead and lead this one off, Frankie. My comment of the week is a man who's right over my left shoulder. If you're viewing, like right there, that guy right there. It's TJ Watt, man. TJ motherfucking Watt. Tuning into Jerry After Dark, watching 3 grown men dressed up as farm, a whole farm, a whole ranch. You got Big Cat in the cow suit. You got JJ in the piglet, and you got PFT looking like he's a double for Brokeback Mountain, which we got a little bit of that action. But yeah, Jerry After Dark, TJ Watt quote tweets it, says locked in, hashtag bully hours. And, they tweet at him, and this is before we found the first one. They tweet at him. Lucas lets him know. Boom, they find the first one. And then they find the second one. And JJ's like, Oh man, I hope TJ saw that. Like I hope he saw that, man. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome. You see that, TJ? That one's for TJ Watt for bringing up the vibes. And then boom, they find another one because TJ Watt quote tweets it and said, like, quote tweeted the clip from Jerry After Dark and said, "Never a doubt!" Exclamation point. 37 to go with some laughing emojis. Like, yeah, like he was
Yeah.
locked in. I appreciate that. I doubt he stayed up the full
Amazing.
6 hours. I know he's a bully, but he's still TJ Watt. I doubt he's sitting up 6 hours like a crazy ass stoolies watching, PMT and Jersey Jerry crawl around in hay for 6 hours. That's insane. But yeah, props to the whole Jerry After Dark crew. It feels like they kind of came back a little bit this week. Jerry had better vibes about him. Maybe that's because he's like, him and Big Cat and PFT, they are so close. They do get along so well, but it seemed like that whole show really had some good vibes this week. And yeah, TJ Watt commented on it like another fucking dub. Like, does Jersey Jerry run the NFL? Tom Brady, TJ Watt, talking about should be 3-time defensive player of the year, but 1-time defensive player of the year, possibly 2. You got I don't know how many MVPs Tom Brady has. That's because he's got too many damn Super Bowl rings for me to count. They're tweeting at Jersey Jerry all the time. Fucking terrific. Keep it running, JJ and TJ. Keep locking in because we need those bully hours. We need them. We got to stay ready for next.
I was gonna
season.
say you're saying he might not have stayed up for the whole 6 hours. The fact that he was locked in for 6 seconds is amazing. I mean,
right.
like Demi, shout out Demi, posted a tweet, was like, I'm spending my, I'm in my, whatever she said, I'm a grown woman, in my house watching these 3 grown men try to find needles in a haystack, whatever. And it's just like, it
Yeah,
doesn't matter who you are. Like, everyone was tuning in and watching, male, female, superstar, regular person, like, just unbelievable. So great comment of the week. Shout out Jerry After Dark crew. Awesome guys. Shout out Lucas and Ryan too. I DM with them and they've come in Stoolie Wednesday. They're great dudes. But moving into my comment of the week, it's one of the best for sure in a while. Gaz. So Viva La Stool posted Mincy addressing the 2-on, 2-off week show that he does, right? So, he doesn't have his producer, so he's got weeks that he's off and on. So Gaz retweets it and says, DP made content for 6 years with no help, just a laptop and a dream. Different times, I guess. DP being Dave Portnoy. That's not the comment of the week, though. So Mincy replies back, I get the message loud and clear. More content is on the way. I will redeem this. And here's the comment of the week, Gaz's reply, and he says, I was JK. Please don't do anything without supervision, which is just excellent. And I think it's got 2,000 more likes than Mincy's loud and clear tweet.
Right.
So yeah, just an unbelievable ratio. Amazing reply. Shout out Gaz, Bald Paul for the dub. Comment of the week.
Yeah, stool sales guy was on top of it. He's like, we're not losing any more money, Mincy. Hold on. You still need to be checked. We got to make sure you got a dump button at all times. Relax. You need your supervision, buddy. We've seen this play out over and over and over. Let me check the schedule, make sure we don't have a show coming out that we're making people pay $11 for. Hold on, let me check the schedule, make sure that it's not the first of the month. Let us supervise you. Give me a second.
Oh shit! Absolutely, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal comment, man. Phenomenal comment that really wrapped up a great week in Barstool. Because you still get the little shit like that. You still get people picking on Mincy. You still get JJ After Dark having fun. It's not all beef. Us Stoolies are here for it all. Barstool Breakdown's here for it all. So
Absolutely.
Let me remind you to like and subscribe. Go follow Stool Breakdown, right? And tune in because we got more guests coming. We might as well. We're going to Vegas next week, Frankie. We're going to Vegas.
Yeah, I put it in the intro. I said this content coming in the next week is about to be 2 times, not 3 times, 4 times, whatever. We're going to be pumping it out. So follow Stool Breakdown, look up on Twitter, and we'll get as much as we can on YouTube too.
Yeah, at minimum, we're going to get you guys at least a fan experience. Maybe I'll throw together a vlog for it, but a fan experience of what it's like to go to these events. Like you and I came up with this idea in Chicago because we went to a live show.
Yep.
Like this is the Stool. Like we love doing the shit. We love going. It's gonna be a blast. It's gonna hurt my pockets, but that's fine because we'll get to sit up here and break it down on Stoolie Wednesday and on Barstool Breakdown. And that's why it's always good to be on the Barstool Breakdown.
Absolutely. Viva.
Viva. So I'm editing the podcast from work. I just realized we didn't make an intro for Chris Clemmer, so I'm throwing one up from work. This is what Drew Garrison would call my dungeon, so shout out Drew for that. Anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into another great interview we got to conduct with Chris Clemmer. I mean, maybe the rising star of the New York office. He was the perfect guest to have on. You know, he kind of brought up this hate thing, and we went in on it, and really got some insight of how it is like to be in content when that kind of beef and stuff goes down, and really like, you know, behind closed doors, how it makes everyone feel. So yeah, another great interview. Sorry that I'm recording this from work if it sounds poorly, but it is what it is. Thanks for tuning in with the breakdown. I hope you enjoy.
All right, we're here with a very special guest. You know him from Pick Central, The Bracket, maybe even Barstool Idol. It's Chris Clemmer. How we doing, brother?
Good. 8th place finisher at Barstool Idol. So if you know me from that, you know that I only lasted 2 days, so not very successful there.
Yeah, he's turned it around. Obviously, he's the talk of New York. He's the talk of Stoolie Wednesday. He's the man right now. I mean, that was like, you know, Stoolie Wednesday. I like to shout out a little bit because we talk in it, and this week it was like a lot about the New York drama, and then it was also, but hey, what about Klemmer's new show? So we can go ahead and start right there. I mean, Rat Race. Like, was this an idea that you've had like for a while now, and you finally got to get like the, you know, go ahead, let's see it?
Yeah. So what happens is Kevin has KFC's been having these like pitch meetings. So like we all meet up like a couple times a month, and we like all the content people get together. It's pretty open forum. You got a good idea, kind of shout it out. We kind of talk it over a little bit if it has a little heat, and then it goes up kind of on a whiteboard. And Roan's there, and Roan kind of helps facilitate the meeting. And I had the idea of like, hey, like Amazing Race, Barstool, I love the NYC facts. Like, how do we merge all those three things together? And then the second the meeting was over, Owen grabbed me. And, you know, if you watch the act, you know Owen, obviously. And right. Owen grabbed me. He's like, I want in on this project. I said, great, because I need help. Because I'm terrible with technical stuff. This is the first time I've done a show kind of on my own, so I don't really know kind of what to do production-wise. So Jake Bass grabbed me too. He's like, hey, how can I help? I said, well, you can help in a lot of ways because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So I can definitely design the game and I can like create what people need to do. But as far as like putting it on camera, making it on bars, like that stuff, I don't know what to do. Those guys were enormous help. And then Booze jumped in a couple weeks later. He's like, I want to help direct this. I said, awesome, because I don't know what I'm doing. So us four, especially Booze, Owen, and I, Jake was great, like behind the scenes, like facilitating, sure, kind of organized meetings, things like that. And then we kind of all just kind of put our heads together, and we thought we had something pretty good, like when we were shooting it, like because I didn't know, because I'm obviously just running around. As you see, I don't even get to all the places in time. So like it's all happening very fast that day. But I would hear like, oh, this happened, and this like Meek Phil pukes. And like Bibbs and Large are like in a car in traffic. I'm like, yes, that's awesome. We present everything to editor. It's a guy named Dello. It's the same guy that edited Surviving Barstool. And what he did with the footage we gave him was, I think, just amazing. Like you have like when you have an idea, like you have like a hope for like how it's going to be and like kind of what you expect it to be. And like this was way better than I had ever dreamed. And like and that's all like the cameramen. Remember, the camera guys were chasing, you know, the content people around. So they had to run just as fast with a camera trying to keep focus. Like, and
I cannot imagine editing that footage. Like you're going through a bunch of the camera just shaking like that, and then you got to catch the great moments. Like, shout out production. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sorry, Jonathan, but I'm sorry to interrupt you. But do they have those vests where like the cameras don't shake? Because like I remember those from like TV productions classes and stuff like that. I figured they didn't, because that's amazing, man. It was unbelievable production for sure.
I think those are called stabilizers. I think I'm terrible with that stuff. They did not have that. They had just regular cameras. And honestly, like Dell did a great job editing it, but the camera guys got great footage. Like they did a great job keeping up, because they're doing, it's like almost like, you know, you hear that like Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. Like I'm an old person, so I'm going to use like reference from the 1930s. But like they were famous for doing ballroom dance.
Say not us.
And everything that Fred Astaire did, Ginger Rogers had to do backwards and in high heels. And I feel like that's kind of that same way with our camera guys. They had to chase these guys with cameras, because at least when you're running, you know which way you're going. The camera guys don't know if they're taking a right or left. They got to keep up and shoot it. The camera guys were incredible. Plus, everyone was like all in. Like the camera guys were all in. everyone I asked on the content side to do it we're all in. Like everyone was super competitive, super excited. And then we had Owen and Booze. Those guys were with me every step of the way. It was just like a real team effort. And like I said, I just had the idea, but like the way it came out, I'm just really happy. I'm super excited to do it again.
Yeah, I mean the production, like I said, was incredible. Them being able to keep up the contestants, it makes me wonder is like, man, what if they had Meek Phil at production? Like, and imagine, hey, hold on, we got to wait on the cameraman. He's busy puking in the trash can. But
They're missing
but no,
footage because he's just
Right.
puking on the side.
right. But
Clemmer, is that
so
your knee up to your like neck right now?
It is. It is.
are you getting small right now?
My God, you're just compact right now. I was like, holy shit.
I was gonna ask him about that. I was gonna ask him about that later, and he's already small. He's already got compact.
sorry.
It's just comfortable.
That's awesome.
I don't know.
I
That's
sit up in a
amazing. I
desk
just
chair
love
to
that
do
you
my
were just
podcast.
sitting like, I was like, I'm looking, I'm like, is something in front of his camera? I'm like, wait, is that his knee?
No,
It
I
is
can't
my
even
knee.
bend like that. So it's amazing. It's amazing.
No, this is how I
that's
sit.
a clip
'cause I'm-
already. That's
I'm an
hilarious.
insane person. But yes, this is comfortable. I don't know what else to say.
No, that's awesome.
Fair.
This goes into your uniqueness, and I think why, like, what also goes into the show, like, it all seems to stem from when you're doing your Twitter, what is it, New York history videos. I'm sorry,
The NYC Facts. Yeah.
yeah, NYC Facts. Yeah, I was losing the name. Yeah, all goes back to when you're doing your NYC Facts videos, and then you've turned it into a show, which I think like I said, overwhelming response is like great. Like even Francis today wrote about it in his blog when he's saying winners and losers, and right there at the bottom is winners. I mean, he kind of went in on you for a second.
But that's great. Like Francis. So Francis and I, like, this is, and I'll bring it up too a little bit. It's not my fight to fight, but like this is the difference between like the Ohio State thing kind of coming at us and like a Francis thing going on. So,
absolutely.
like, with Francis and with us in the office, it's just like we all know each other. So when it's someone kind of coming from the clouds, it's just like we don't know you. Like it's like with your buddies. Like if you're hanging out with your buddies and they shit on you, they bust your balls, whatever. It's like, all right, yeah, but I can bust your balls back, and we kind of have that relationship. Like I'll make fun of Francis in the bracket. I'll be like, you're a smarmy, Harvard educated, whatever, and he'll come back at me and be like, well, you're a weird, prisoner of war. And I'm like, all right, well, it's fair. Like you have kind of that fun give and take. When it's someone who won't show their face and kind of hides, won't even tell you his real name and kind of just hides in the shadows throwing bombs, it's like, well, that's not fair. We're not fighting on the same playing field. Like it's hard to fight back with that. So that's why, like, I don't care. Like we are all friends, and it's a different way of ball busting than some random unknown person that we've never met just throwing shots. Like why are you doing that?
I'm glad you brought this up because maybe like later I was going to talk about the whole thing that just went down, but I'm glad you brought it up because I think he should have to go to New York.
I don't care where.
I think that's where like the best. I saw your reaction. I mean, it's pretty genuine, but I think like why not? Like that's where the best blogs come from. It seems.
I don't know what his situation. Honestly, I've never met the man. I mean, not that I've been in the company that long, but I've never been in the same room with the guy. I don't know what wherever he goes, he goes. If he's full time, which it sounds like Dave obviously hired him today, so he's full time. So I hope that means that he'll show us like if we try to call him to be on the rundown or whatever, then it's like, all right, that's fair. Like, all right, now you're gonna show your face. You can fight back. We can fight with you, and it's a more of a level playing field. And kind of tossing these bombs.
I think that's where the best content comes from, though, honestly. But yeah,
I would think so. I think so too.
Right. So I felt like it's definitely a good place to put him. But I wanted to continue.
Let me just say one more. Sure. I'm sorry, John, not to cut you off. I just want to say one more thing about it, and kind of like where I kind of understand why a lot of the fans kind of have his back, and I do get it to some extent. So like when I think back to like when I was like a Mets fan, I was like Art Howe was manager of the Mets. He was a horrible manager. And I remember thinking to myself, Twitter wasn't around yet. Remember, I'm old as fuck. So Twitter wasn't around yet. But I would think, and I would tell my friends, I would tell anyone who listens, like, Art Howe needs to get fired. Like, we need to fire this guy. Now, I don't know Art Howe. Who am I to say he should be fired? But I believe that. And I said it. Like, if you're a public figure, that's kind of comes with the game to some extent. But with Ohio State thing, why I think that's why it's kind of resonating differently is like he works with us. So almost be like a Mets like front office guy anonymously telling the New York Post every day, like Art Howe should be fired. At some point you'd be like, well, that's just kind of shitty. Like, I don't know how else to combat that. So I do understand the fans like kind of probably see Ohio State as kind of like one of their own, which I get to some extent. So I do kind of see both sides of it, but hopefully now that he is going to be public, or at least, I'm sorry, full time, maybe that would be making more public, and then he can kind of like, if we have an issue with him, he would answer it, and then we can kind of have that back and forth. I guess that's kind of what I'm saying. But I do get to some extent why fans, might look at us and be like, oh, like Chris Clemmer should be fired, just like I said Art Howe should be fired. But then if you meet Art Howe, you might be like, oh, he's a regular guy. Maybe I shouldn't have thought that. But like, I don't expect fans to think like that because they haven't met us. They don't work with us. But you can see why, like, I see my friends like Kelly or Francis or Nate or whatever getting attacked by this guy who now won't say who he is. And it's like, well, this kind of sucks. Like, I see them upset or they're like, what the fuck? And it's just, that's why I think the whole office, you probably saw the ads like with Frank the Tank even chimed in.
No, absolutely.
Like a lot of us just.
Yeah. I mean, besides like Frank, like you were like the only person I was saying that I agreed with on this. Like, I was like, I hate Ohio State in general. So like I was yesterday saying on Stooley Wednesday, I was like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I like Ohio State. I was trying to make sure I spaced it so I didn't say Ohio State. And then when you just said, well, it sucks because like he doesn't really show who he is and whatever, like that was the only thing that like negative that I kept agreeing with or kept repeating is like, there's really no way to like, come back. Like we were telling him to come on Stooley Wednesday and he was like, no thanks, or didn't respond or whatever. So it's like, damn, dude, like, come on, man, like come out a little bit. Like and I made the comment, and I hope I don't get eviscerated for this. I'm a teacher, middle school as well, Ohio State. So please don't come after me. But I was thinking, can he not speak well? Maybe, maybe he's afraid to talk more. Like he's a hell of a writer. So maybe that's the thing.
He's a very good writer. He's a teacher. I don't know, he's a teacher. So I imagine he must be able to speak pretty well. Like he's obviously must be educated. He writes like someone who's educated. Like he's a very good writer. It's interesting he wouldn't go on Stooley Wednesday because I've been on it with you guys. Like you don't show your face. You have your avatar, but I almost think that's almost the perfect landing spot for him. Did he say why? Like, did he give you a reason?
No, I mean, that's why I thought maybe it was because he didn't think maybe he could, use the words well. Like he want to be able to edit what he's saying. Maybe, I'm just thinking as I'm a math teacher, but maybe I was thinking as a language arts teacher,
Frankie's one of those guys that Frankie's one of those guys that in Stooley Wednesday, like when we do like just sit there and chop it up with like all the Stoolies, Frankie would be like, all right, 10 hat time. And he'll always put the 10 hat on and then go in on what he's saying. So it could be one of those situations, but he has a good point. It's like that's the easiest avenue to like, especially as a new hire. So I feel like reaching out to him again would be smart. Like get him to talk to some Stoolies and see how he is, like, see if they're really going to be on his side, or is it just the writing that we love this week? And plus, bringing the blog back and Blog Wars, that shit's fun.
Absolutely.
For a fan.
And because I think of myself, I was in sales for 15 years before I started working here. And like when you're in a fucking cube, you're just looking for something to get through the day, man. It's just like, fuck this. Like you got these reports you got to do, or you got these sales calls you got to do. And it's like, that's the last thing I want to fucking do.
Yeah.
Give me 5 minutes to get my mind right before I have to do sales calls. And reading a blog or just checking out I totally get all of that. I genuinely do. But like, I'm shocked that he wouldn't, especially where he's been so welcomed by the fans. Like if you go and see the responses he's getting from these blogs, they're all very positive.
Yeah.
Like people seem to really, I was surprised like a fan based thing like Stooley Wednesday that he wouldn't, that's like the most embraceable thing I think he could do. I don't get the whole private thing. I hope that, I don't, unless he has some special privilege, I hope that when he's full-time wherever he is, and maybe he'll be working remote at first. I honestly have zero idea. But even if he's working remote in Ohio at first, I hope he's willing to at least come on via Zoom or something so there can be some sort of answering for like why you're like, I don't get like why he's so angry. Like I don't maybe I said I'm also a fan of the Mets who said fire Art Howe when it really didn't affect me. So like I just don't know why he is so angry, seemingly so angry with us. I don't understand.
Yeah, and I think like him, I think you're right. Like if he, is full time, it's kind of he has to like stand up and like face the questions, like man to man, face to face. Like you said, like I saw on John Rich's blog something about the FaceTime, which was crazy. Like I didn't know that part until I read his blog. Like
yeah, I'll come out and tell you what happened. So we called him, and someone threw the phone to me actually, and I saw him like, oh, Ohio State. And then I didn't even know what happened. Kelly ripped the phone from my hand. I didn't even see her coming. I was like, whoop. Next thing I know, I was only looking at my hand. The phone was gone. And Kelly goes, "Hi, Ohio State." And I guess he like kind of laughed and hung up immediately.
Right away.
And I'm like, wow, that's
Oh no.
pretty cowardly. So I don't know.
Damn. Yeah, I don't know. It takes a different kind of man to be able to, back up his words with his mouth. Like, you written words are only so much. So like, and I get that. That definitely is like enlightening to most people who don't know that story. That's fucking nuts. It's soft. I would say it like I would send that shit to the group chat. If that was a clip, I'd be like, that's soft. Like soft, bro. Answer. Like stand up and answer for your actions. So that's crazy.
Absolutely. Like, and I think, some of his points, obviously fans seem to think are very valid. And, I'm obviously probably a little bit biased because I'm going to,
Well, yeah, I mean,
to
yeah.
some extent, like protect my friends or be
You're
like,
working with those guys every day, so it's
yeah,
understandable.
and I actually I genuinely like everyone I work with. So it's not even
Right.
like I like these people. I go out and have drinks. They're friends, and maybe I'm too close to it to see it. And I understand how fans are like, well, maybe they have a better perspective on some of these things. And I understand how I get all that. I really do. But I'd like to hear it from him of like, why? Like, what is this based in? Now, is it based in trying to get a job? If that's the case, and he succeeded, he's got a full-time job. So I guess, he won. And he's been winning all week. I'll say that every single time you turn around, he's got a huge blog doing huge numbers, which is great for Barstool. And he's getting W's on our office left and right. I guess I don't understand exactly. I don't, because up until this week, he seemed to write pretty tame blogs about Ohio sports, I thought, unless I'm missing.
Yeah, I think
very niche.
I can't speak for him, but like the gist of like what Stooley Wednesday was talking about, and I think just in the tweets and just in general is like anybody would love to be you guys, man. And you know that. You have a freaking awesome job. And I think it's just when, people like they were talking about in Stooley Wednesday, like me tomorrow. I don't get to wake up tomorrow and be like, I work for fucking Barstool. I'm not going in, whatever. I got to go teach a bunch of middle school assholes that just, don't give a shit about what I'm saying. So it's like, oh, well, this sucks. But my out is listening to you guys. You know what I mean? So like, I think that was the gist behind it. And it's like,
the
I
Friday
think he
thing
just
was definitely
took
the origin.
it over the
Totally
top to
agree.
get a job is more what I think was. Sorry, Jonathan.
No.
And that, I'm sorry, Jonathan, that makes total sense. Like I did it. I mean, for 15 years, I was, doing the sales thing. And it's like, you'd almost pray for sales shifts because then I could just at least put on a podcast to listen to the guys I like to listen to as opposed to being stuck on my cube for another 8-hour day, 9-hour day. And it's just like, and then, if you depending on business you're in, you have busy season and you want to pull your hair out even more. Especially this time of year, fucking Christmas is over. And it's like, man, I remember looking at my calendar I'd be at my desk and I have like my calendar on my desk. I'm sure you guys have the same thing. And you're like, I don't have a fucking day off until Memorial Day. It's fucking February 1st. Fuck my life. This sucks. I completely understand all of that. And that's, I really do appreciate the job I have now because I did the other side for a long time. So I get why people certainly don't want to hear us bitch and moan about really probably anything. And I completely get that. I try not to, but I'm sure I fall into that trap. And I'm sure I'm sure fans might see us kind of circling the wagons around our guys in the New York office and be like, why are you, because the other thing too is I see both sides. That I see the human beings that they're going after. It's like, this kind of sucks. Like these people are like, especially if you work with us, like Ohio State works even part-time with us. It's like, you're kind of still going after a coworker. Right. I know I've never met you, but like still kind of weird. I don't know. Like I said, but a lot of his points obviously landed with fans and it landed with Dave. Like Dave hired him. So
let me just make sure I get this out there. I wasn't saying that like you guys suck for not going in, whatever. Like you guys got the job. You earned the job. You deserve the job. That's what it is. Like if people want to say differently, then sucks for them. Then maybe they should try to get a job at Barstool. You guys have them. So if you don't have to go in on Fridays, guess what? Sucks for us that don't have the jobs there. But that's like, you know what I mean? Like that's part of working for Barstool and why it's an awesome company. You guys can go in, you can work from home. You can, it depending on what your content you're doing. Like I understand that. My point is, I just think that most people are just like, oh, they don't even give a shit. They don't do anything, whatever. And it's like, they don't know, like you guys are flying around the country to go do advertising deals and stuff like that, which we don't get to see half the time. Like, so anyway, just wanted to clarify that. So it wasn't like I'm just this asshole being like,
I'm a proponent of people going on Friday. So I like when people are there. I think we do better content when we're all there together personally. I like doing collaborative 100%. Stuff. So if I was in a cube and I heard someone complain about working on Fridays, that would piss me off too. So I completely get that. I'm not going to shy away from that. One thing I kind of don't get though is like when people are like, I want the New York office to close. It's like, all right, I can understand how you don't like some of the content we do, whatever. Then like don't listen to it. I get that. Like for me, like the Art Howe thing, I know I keep going back to it, but like I remember thinking like fuck Art Howe or fuck the GM or fuck the Wilpons. I'm so mad at the Mets right now. But it never was like I hope the Mets go away. Like I don't get like I still enjoy what. So I don't quite get that like visceral reaction, but maybe I'm missing something. I don't know.
No, I don't think you're missing anything. I think you're right on that. You would understand the outside perspective, but also being a part of it, like it is tough because these are people that you're talking so much shit about online, and that sometimes it's a little too hectic out there. But I mean, there was another beef. I mean, while we're going through the beefs, we might as well. We have a segment on the show called Barstool Beef of the Week. So I think you have the perfect input on it. There was a beef with Pig Central and Mostly Sports. Mark Titus, and right away, so I have it in my notes actually for the week when we do our show. Klemmer right away was like, FaceTime him. Let's see what's he want? Like, what's the beef here? And I fucking loved that. I was like, yeah, Klemmer, let's go. Yeah. That's why it made Rico walking out look kind of weird. So, what's your take on that beef? Like, what happened there?
Yeah, well, I mean, gotta remember I was, I'm under the Kirk Minahan coaching tree. So Kirk's whole thing is like, let's have that on air. And I completely agree with that mentality because that's what, if we're going to have it out, let's have it out on air because let's have the fans watch, like, we're going to do it anyway. Let's do it in front of people. We're paid to create content. So that's just where my mind always goes to. Let's just have it out now. I didn't get where it came from. I was really happy that Ev ended up going on the Yak. And I'll say this. I mean, I don't know what transpired exactly. Everything that Ev said, I'm in complete lockstep with. That was my understanding of the situation. Every single thing Ev said, and I know he swore on his mother. That's the truth. That's exactly what I would have said. The truth, as Ev said, is the truth that we understood. Now, it appears that Titus and Brandon might have a different philosophy. Brandon and I, meanwhile, very good friends. I don't know Titus at all. I've met him a couple times. He's been fine with me. I don't really know him. I would say at best mild acquaintances. It's fine. Like it's not bad blood. It's like no blood. I just don't know him. He's been in Chicago most of the time he's been there. But Brandon, when I got hired, couldn't have been more supportive. Tried to involve me in as much content as possible. Meanwhile, I'm brand new. He was just really good with me, and I'll never forget that. And we talk pretty regularly, just about like baseball, old baseball shit or whatever. The nerdiest stuff you can imagine is what we text each other about. It's not like I'm coming from a place I want Mostly Sports to succeed. I think Mostly Sports is great. Like I love Brandon. He really helped me when I was new. I want that show to be huge. The time slot thing, I didn't care about it either way. I don't have kids. I don't have my wife, and my situation is that I can go starting the show at 9, 10, 11 or noon makes no difference to me, honestly. Like it doesn't matter to me at all. So and Ev kind of said the same thing. So I remember Ev and I were both like, we don't care. As long as we have a time slot, we don't give a fuck. As long as we have a show to do, it doesn't really matter when it airs for us. So everything Ev said is exactly the truth that we know it. Now, if those guys disagree, whatever, I guess that's my issue. My only issue with how it was handled with Titus when our whole show, when it's like, why are you throwing Ev? Why are you so angry at like Ev and I? Like if you have a problem with Marty, you don't like him because the college basketball stuff or Rico, whatever. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Well, they seemed to clear that up on the Yak a little bit too. I don't know if you saw that clip, but yeah, they were going back and forth. Like I didn't mean to. Like Titus said, it was like I know when I said fuck those guys, like it kind of encompassed everything, but he basically said people know who I'm talking about, and it was like
I guess, but they don't though, and it's like
right.
I will say this, like Brandon and I talked afterwards. Like Titus never, said he was sorry, which it's not his. He doesn't owe me any apologies, but it wasn't like Titus reached out. I was like, hey man, sorry, I threw you. Like that didn't happen, but that's also fine too. He doesn't owe me anything. I mean, he might not even know him on the show. I don't know. I'm definitely the newest guy on there. So he might not even, maybe he saw the clip, maybe he did. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. If I saw Titus though in Chicago, let's say I'm in Chicago in the next couple months and I see him, I would be like, hey man, or I might ask him, be like, are you cool with us now? Something like that. But I'm not going in there with all angry. I'm fine with him. It's that to me, that is kind of squashed because it doesn't really affect me that much.
Yeah. It also seems like he kind of went in like he got a little carried away because he was doing a show and on content too, which I feel like is part of the game too. Uh, I didn't mean to jump into all this drama, and that's what I love about you, though, Clemmer, is like you have that fire and you're ready to go, and like at all time, like you started with Ohio State, and I was like, all right, awesome. I kind of want to tie back into Rat Race, unless you got anything else on that, real quick, Frankie.
No, the Pick Central thing to me is pretty. I think it's squashed. Now I say
Yeah,
that
no,
though.
it seems that way.
I didn't expect it, the week to start that way either. So what the fuck do I know? Like I said, I always say on Pick Central, especially, I'm the last guy in that totem pole because those guys, Smitty, Rico, Ev, Marty, those guys, and with Brandon built that show. I'm just the new guy, so I go in and I'll and they're great. They'll let me bust balls. Nothing's ever off limits, and they let me go. I feel like I'm an equal contributor there, but
Yeah,
I'm definitely the new guy at the lunch table.
Like getting back where we started, I didn't want to leave because I don't want to sell Rat Race short. I think it's a very good show. I think it's stemmed from a very good idea. And I feel like when you were coming in those Stoolie Wednesdays, you talked about like coming in, like people were like, why don't you try the New York City facts thing? And I feel like this is a great spin on that. Like I loved the show. So going forward, I saw you announce that you have been approved for another episode or however you run it. I bet it takes a lot of time to film one of those. Is there a process in picking the teams, or is it kind of like you talked how everyone was involved, like they were like ready to go? So is there a process in picking the teams, and where do you want the show to go from here?
The casting is huge because like you want to get teams that are going to either work really well together or maybe not work well together at all, or the last thing you want is two people that like, it's like, you kind of threw them together and it's like a forced marriage. It doesn't really make sense. You want to have some sort of dynamic. So casting is really important. It's funny. The shoots happen in one day. And then like we intentionally shoot it kind of raw. Like I'm sure if you watch it, I'm stumbling over words sometimes. Those guys beat me there.
Late to a meetup. Yeah.
I want the show to be like unvarnished because I think that separates us from a lot of other shows. Like I want it to be as raw and as unedited as possible because I'm not a traditional host. So like, yeah, we could do, a couple different takes and make it look flashy and sharp or whatever. But that's not really interesting to me. I like the idea. It's like, it's New York. It's gritty. Let's just fucking go and do it. So I'm sure I'll have more fuck ups in the next one, but I kind of like that because it also shows like, I don't know. Like
it's Barstool Sports, man. I mean,
I feel it's like like anyone can be a host kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, Klemmer's this weird guy. Yeah, but he's hosting and they're like, it's he's doing a good enough job and he kind of yells to people or whatever. I like all of that in there.
Yeah, turn around, guys. Look at me.
Yeah, guys, come on, focus.
That's one of my favorite parts was like stand on the mat.
Yeah, guys,
like,
on the mat.
Hosting,
Guys,
it was the best.
The mat. Like I like that stuff because that's the kind of stuff I like to see if I'm watching a show. Like if they ever kind of pull back the curtain on some of the shows I like if Survivor or Amazing Race or whatever, they pull back the curtain, I think that's really cool. So I wanted that to be in the show. And Dello made a lot of we tried to get in the footage, like let him roll with it, but he had the same mentality as I did. We just all had a meeting about it actually yesterday about episode 2. And we're all on the same page. Like, let's go as raw as possible. So we do it all in one day. If it's great, if it's me fucking up left and right, it's in there. Casting is huge. We spend a lot of time thinking about that, brainstorming about that. It's me and Owen kind of had our ideas. Mm-hmm. And then we brought it to Dello. We brought it to Jake Bass. We brought it to Booze. And we all put our heads together. We actually came up with better ideas. Some of the ideas that Owen and I had, and we made some other ideas better. And then, I have the locations that I like. And then we brainstorm if I have, maybe a fourth location that maybe I'm kind of questionable about. And we all just kind of brainstorm for like an hour and a half. And I think what we came up with is going to be bigger, better than the one we just saw. Like, I'm really excited for the next one. We're adding a few new wrinkles. One thing we're doing right off the bat, I'll tell you guys, like, no phones. I know we tweeted like no one's getting a phone anymore. So that's off the table. And then it's going to be like, the first one was just in Manhattan. If you're not familiar with New York, you probably don't know, but like there's 5 boroughs. Manhattan is, kind of where the office is, kind of the busiest, most, I don't know, popular, but the most like normal New York. If you think New York, you think Manhattan. But we're going to go to other boroughs now and make it bigger and hopefully be even better.
I'm super excited to see where it goes because you have like I said, the New York history, the New York City facts, just that going into it and such a small thing. And I feel like this could be a shout out to like smaller creators too. It's like, just do something and then an idea like this stems from that, it's incredible. And I think we're all super excited to, see it flourish. Like I said, you were the positive talk of Stooley Wednesday this week. And like you were saying, is like there were a lot of mad fans and who wanted to talk about the beefs, but there was one shining light in New York that everyone just kept talking about. It was Chris Clemmer's new show, Rat Race. So make sure you check it out. I mean, it was incredible.
And I appreciate the feedback. Like I know it's like I'm like, I don't, sometimes you're like, oh, why are the fans doing this? Whatever. But then on the other side, the reaction has been so overwhelmingly positive, and that reaction being so positive by people is why we got greenlit so fast. Like,
yeah,
I had Jake Bass running to my desk like that day and be like, we're going for 2 because of the fans. So like, I said I really see both sides, and I said I've been on the other side of it, so I completely get it. So like all the positive comments and the ones that had like constructive criticism, like I actually appreciate all that stuff. Like I do read a lot of it, especially like for the show, like especially for Rat Race. I try to read as much as I can, so I'm like, all right, what good ideas or what do people like, what people don't like, so like we can make it better for next time. But yeah, that's been that was, I very much appreciate all of the comments and all of the people that spent their time watching it, because that makes that was really cool to see. Like, it made me feel really good when it came out on Tuesday. Like, oh wow, people like it, because you never know, like, what if this sucks?
For sure.
Yeah, well, you should feel even better, dude, because my wife doesn't follow Barstool. I mean, she follows like Instagram Barstool, whatever, but she doesn't know. Not to say anything, but she doesn't know who Chris Clemmer is. She doesn't know, but she doesn't know who freaking Smitty is. She doesn't know, you know what I mean? She doesn't know people like that. We watched it together last night, so I mean, she sat through it, enjoyed it. She was like, "Oh, it was pretty cool, whatever." And she's like, "Oh, wait, I know isn't that the one from Chicks in the Office?" She's like, "Oh, that's both of them." So like she did know some of them, which was cool, but like, that was just like her watching The Amazing Race, and she was interested and sat there and watched the whole episode. So, I mean, to me, that's like the impressive part, when like an outside from Barstool person comes in and watches a Barstool production, and they're like, huh, I can watch this. It's not just a Frank's cut that we all love.
Yeah, no, I heard that from a few different people. Like, they're watching their kids, whatever, which is pretty cool. And how awesome is it that Fran and Rhea did the show? Like, they have a pretty fucking big show. They're a pretty big deal. Like, I know they've been around a while. I don't know if people like get, like, their numbers are monster numbers. Their tours are huge. So for them to take a day out of their very busy schedules, their very successful schedules, and do the show, that meant a lot to me. Cause like, that was when they heard the cast, it's like, oh, you got Fran and Reed to do it. I was like, that's great. And everyone obviously, everyone who did it, I'm super appreciative, but I thought that was really cool of them to do the show without, just sight unseen. I'm like, here's what we're doing. Would you guys mind doing that? And everyone said yes. Like that was really, really cool. So I obviously appreciate everyone who did it.
Reluctantly, Fran said yes, though.
Yeah. No, I just want to make it everyone who came, we started the shoot super early in the morning. Everyone was there on time. Everyone couldn't have been more professional, ready to go into it. And like, that made me feel really good too. Cause it's like, all right, like, they don't owe me dick. Like, they're doing my thing. They're getting up early in the morning to do my thing, and everyone was on board. And that's what I mean. So like when I see, when you see people kind of attack the New York office as a whole, I get, look, fans should be allowed to criticize. I criticize the Mets all the time. I'm pissed off. We fucking sucked last year. I completely get it. But when they go after, like, sometimes it's just like, sometimes the shots are a little bit, I don't know. I don't want to say it's cheap, but like the Ohio State stuff, I guess, kind of just rubbed me the wrong way, because it's like, like, these people are really good people. They're all my friends, and they all help me out whenever I ask. And it's like, this feels like Ohio State. I've never asked them for anything, obviously, but like, I don't know. I feel like the other people, everyone I work with has been super helpful and really great with me. Like, I'm only been there a year and a half. Like, everyone's very welcoming and kind, and even a lot of people in Chicago couldn't have been nicer. Nick, KB, and Brant. Like, I'm giving people off. And then to have this guy come out of the clouds, it's like, it's kind of shitty. But, well, like I said, I also get how it resonated with fans. But like I said, that's kind of what triggered me, I guess, if you want to say it that way. Because I was like, oh, these guys all helped me build this content.
I need Ohio State and Kelly on a Rat Race team.
I don't know if that's possible, because he said he wouldn't be on camera. He wouldn't even do fucking Stooley Wednesday. So I don't know if he's going to do the Rat Race. I need people who are going to be there.
No, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. You can't have a rat not show up to the race. That's
right.
You can't have it. So I want to tie back. You mentioned him earlier, Brandon Walker. How much do you miss the Uncatchables? Or I'm sorry. Yeah, the uncrotchables.
Yes, right. Yeah, the right. I miss it a lot. I miss him. I miss the show. I do miss the show. The show was fun. I miss Brandon a lot. I miss Nick and KB a ton. I miss leaving a million people out. I miss like Che. I miss seeing these people in the office. Like Keegs actually said it best. She's like, it does kind of feel like your parents got divorced and like the siblings got split up because like you don't see them as much. Hopefully, there's more stuff we're doing together this year. Because I guess that's the one nice because whenever they do come by the office, like we shot that murder mystery. I don't know if you guys check that out. If you're looking for something fun.
I did. It was incredible. Chris
the murder
Barker.
mystery. It was fun, but Nick and KB flew back to do that, and it was just great seeing them. It was fun doing content with them again. It's like, oh, I miss this, you know. So, you know, you do miss them. I miss Rudy a lot. Like we used to all do like, you know, the New York Times crossword puzzle every day, and like that kind of got. Yeah, it's like we lost half our crossword puzzle crew. So I miss a lot of those guys, but I miss just talking like 80s baseball with Brandon. I miss doing the show, but I just kind of miss having Brandon around.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. No, that's completely fair. You mentioned Che there too. You were junior trusted data there for a while.
On the baseball guy for trusted data, so I'll be bringing that back when baseball season starts up from my end of it. But Che, like another guy, like, you know, if I'm on a losing streak, he'll text me and be like, keep your head up. Like it's, you know, but like, it's like so frustrating if you spend all this time researching it and you lose like 6 in a row. It's like, oh my God, what is wrong with me? And so it's like, you know, that's what I mean. Like everyone who's there is like really supportive. It sounds corny and lame. I know it does. And, but that's the truth of it. I don't know what, like I'm happy every day going to work. I really am. Like I never, and I've had jobs where it's like, I'm going to keep pressing this news because if I don't, I'm going to fucking lose my fucking mind. I've had those jobs. So it's like every morning I get up, I'm happy. I know I do genuinely appreciate how lucky I am. And I go to work. I'm with people that I consider all my friends, and I do the best I can when I'm there. And then I go home, and it's just a really good. It's just a good place to work. This week's been chaotic. Not the best week in Barstool New York's history, but even then, it's like, all right,
the numbers are up.
The numbers are up, and you know we're creating content, I guess. But it's also like I've also worked at McDonald's for 2.5 years. Like, what would I rather do tomorrow? Go to an office that's has had better weeks, or go make more fries in a fryer later. It's like, all right, tough, not a very tough choice. So, at the end of the day, I think everyone, I know myself, I definitely appreciates like what we have and how genuinely like blessed we are.
We went through almost everything that I had on my list here. And I almost started with this, but we got into everything else, which was better. I just wanted to know, and you might have answered this before on other shows or something, but I feel like I listened to a lot of the stuff you're on. Was your Barstool Idol, like when you went to do Barstool Idol, were you doing that to get back in with Kirk? Or were you just like, I want to work for Barstool? Like, I kind of want to know where your mentality was like at that point.
No, I mean, I'll tell you.
Like, we know you love Barstool now, but.
Yeah, so this is all very strange. This is a little bit of a long story, so bear with me here. I was doing Kirk's show once a week. I was going on Fridays. Carabas was originally kind of the Friday sidekick. Baseball season started. Kirk started having me going, and then it just kind of worked. And I did it every blind Mike would do 2 of the days, and I would typically do the Thursday or Friday, whatever the last show of the week was. Did that for a year. Someone I don't know who this is, but whoever this person is literally changed my life. They somehow had access to Barstool email. They sent a company-wide email from a make pretend Kirk email address saying, we've hired Chris Clemmer has been hired. And he had this, like, whoever wrote it had this long thing about like all the things I've done and how like we need to welcome Chris Clemmer to the team. If you read it, you obviously knew Kirk would never write anything like that. It was very flowery praise. It almost seemed like a business letter.
Very off-brand.
That got sent out, and a lot of people believed it, including Big Cat. Big Cat then called into Kirk's show and was like, "Oh, for a second there, I was really excited. Klemmer got hired. I think that was great." So then I'm thinking, "Oh my God, does Big Cat want to hire me?" So I sent Big Cat a DM. I asked Kirk, I'm like, "What should I do?" Kirk's like, "You need to take advantage of the opportunity." I DM'd Big Cat, and I was like, "Hey, I would love to work here. Here's what I think I can do." And Dan got back to me right away. It was like, "Hey, I don't know if there's a spot right now. But keep working with Kirk, and we'll see what comes up, see what presents itself." About a month later, Kirk went to New York to do the dozen tournament. They said they're doing Barstool Idol. Kirk went to Dan and said, find Chris a spot for Barstool Idol. Dan said, I can do that. That happened like 2 PM. By 5 p.m., I was going to be on this show.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So then I'm on the show, and that was like, I don't know, like a month later I was in the show, and that's how I got on Barstool Idol. I don't know if that kind of answers your question or not.
It ties kind of back into what we ask all guests is like, so you were on Kirk's show, as you said, for about a year before you got this, like, opportunity to have a dream job, and like most would say. What got you into Barstool? Like, did you always follow it, or like? No.
I was a snob about this shit, man. Like so you gotta remember, I'm old. So I'm not much younger than.
Yeah, we don't forget that. Chris, we are stoolies. I promise. We don't forget you're old.
I'm only a couple
Tommy
years
doesn't let
younger
us
than
forget
Dave.
either.
I know that's very true. Neither did Francis even today, right? Or no, I think he just called me POW. Although he did say I was in many wars. No, I'm only a couple years younger than Dave. And I remember when Barstool like started up, I remember like the Tom Brady son thing that was on EEI, which is a local sports radio here. Like Dave would go on, and that's kind of how I knew Dave, was that he would sometimes go on EEI. And then I knew of the Brady scandal thing with his son being photographed in the nude. And then Dave had a funny comment about how he's got a howitzer. I always thought of Barstool kind of was like the thing that like the younger brothers, like all my friends' younger brothers loved Barstool. But like I graduated high school in 97. Like I graduated college in 02. Like Barstool was barely not even a thing yet. So like by the time Barstool existed, I was already I had like a real job. So like it just never felt like a thing for me. I always felt like I was just too old for it.
Almost like you were past the demographic it was targeted at. Yeah.
Yeah, I just never, it was never my go-to. I would be more likely to go read like Bill Simmons or kind of go down that road like more than I would necessarily go to the Barstool world. Kirk joins Barstool, and I'm like, I know Dave. I was excited about Kirk going to Barstool from one perspective, like I know Dave will let Kirk say whatever he wants, as opposed to being shackled by WEI. But then part of me is like, I don't know much about Barstool. I don't know how this is going to go. And then Kirk, like a year later, went on The Dozen, and I watched The Dozen episode. I'm like, oh my God, this is actually not, I thought it was all like frat boy. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was all like just jocks and frat boys like puking. I'm like, whatever I thought it wasn't. I watched The Dozen. I'm like, this is pretty good. I listened to Lights, Camera, Barstool. I'm like, oh, well, they're talking about movies. I like movies. And then it kind of opened up to different things. I will admit, when I went to Barstool Idol, I didn't really know. I listened to the act for about, when I say 6 months before I even got on Idol. But like even then, I'm like, I don't know what the office is going to be like. I thought it would be all. I didn't know what to expect. If you had told me, even when I did Barstool Idol, that for pastime, for fun, to break up the day, we'd be doing the New York Times crossword puzzle, and I'd be having some of the most intelligent conversations I've ever had with people like Nick, KB, Brandon, Tommy Smoke, like all these guys. I would be having Ken Jack, really interesting conversations, and some of the most creative, most talented people I ever met in my life. I wouldn't have believed that. So I mean, it's been like such a cool surprise, because even when I took the job, I'm like, I got to take the job because it's such a cool opportunity, but I don't really know 100% what I'm walking into, and I was completely wrong. That's why I always tell people, like, you got to give it a chance, because I didn't, and I missed out on like 20 years of good content, or whatever, 18 years of good content. So I always tell people, like, because a lot of my friends, when I told my friends I'm getting the job, they're like, Barstool? I'm like, give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
All my friends are in their mid to late 40s. Some of them are grandparents. I'm like, you got to give it a shot, though. Listen, and they do. They'll love it. I'm like, I have people who are, I used to work with 10 years old, and be like, I love the bracket, or I love this, or I love that they never would have listened to, because we have bias. As people who consume media, we all have biases. All of us do. And we have to be aware of that and try to be like, all right, well, ask yourself, why do I have that bias? How did that bias get created? Was it because I read something once and now choose to believe that? Or did I really give it a chance? And that's where I learned my lesson.
I think it's a perfect answer. It's just, you mentioned this a couple times. I couldn't get it off my mind. So you speak of surprises, and then you talk about being on The Dozen. You're the most called person on The Dozen. Like, isn't that humbling? Or like you were, at least, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, I think it's just because of the baseball thing. I mean,
it's got to be the baseball. Not enough people know baseball.
I think it's like older baseball. Baseball has such a kind of thick amount of years and stats and data and trades and stuff. It's hard to keep up, I think, if you're not a huge baseball fan. I think a lot of people in the office like baseball. But if you ask a question about like that happened in the 90s, like they weren't alive for it. Some of them.
Right.
Like I get that. It's the baseball.
can
I've been
like-
asked.
You can like baseball, but not everyone's taking a book to the game.
And that's my thing though too. Like I'll talk, but like Marty and Rico know tons about college basketball that I don't even have an inkling about. Or like I like the NBA a lot, but there are a lot of people in that office that know a lot more NBA than I did. That I would call them for a phone number. Or look at the college football. I always use Jack Mac. So it's like, I get called for baseball, but then I'm calling Jack Mac every episode. So everyone, that's what makes this show cool because everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, and hopefully a team of 3 can eliminate those. But even like my team, I love Gia, I love Robbie. Our college knowledge is nothing.
Right.
So that's our Achilles heel.
Yeah, and that's tough going up against different teams in the league. I mean, you mentioned that as like that was like kind of the thing that like you were super into. You're like, oh, Kirk went on the show. I watched the show, and now you're on the show, and like that. I mean, that's got to be an awesome experience. You know, as a fan looking in, like that's incredible.
Like when I was yelling at Dave on radio a few months ago.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah. So here, let's just get into that. I'm a man. I'm 40. Like in that moment, we're watching a story. It's like, oh fuck, is Dave about to fire this guy Chris Clemmer that we really don't know that much about? He's been on Pick Central a few times. Like, is this guy about to get canned on radio? I'm a man. I'm 40. So break that down for me.
Yeah, I knew even work. I'm like, this could go a couple different ways. I told my wife, like, there's a chance I might be home early today, kind of thing.
It's gotta be scary.
And the office just got rearranged. Like they had just moved all the couches in and moved our desks. So I remember thinking to myself in the middle of that conversation with Dave, I'm like, well, if he does fire me, I don't have much stuff to pack up. I can just grab my briefcase and go. I don't need to worry about like bringing the brown box or anything. But I believe very strongly in what I was saying. And I felt like what I was saying was important. And I think as people know now, I think back, not that it's been that long, but I was still pretty new. Maybe I think Dave was I think Dave looked at me probably as like this weird skinny guy, and maybe which is true. And, but I also don't mind a good fight, but, I was willing to get let go, but I'm in a very, like I said, I'm in a very different situation. I'm older. I have a different situation than some other people if I was 24, it's a much more difficult conversation to have. But I will say that one moment during that, I almost pinched myself. I'm like, this is my life's a fucking simulation. I'm screaming at Dave Portnoy, one of the biggest figures in all of media right now, on live radio right now, live TV right now. And this is insane. 2 years ago, I was selling sports signage to, colleges and, local businesses. And now I'm yelling at it's crazy. So you have those moments when you're like, you pinch yourself. You're like, I can't believe this is my life. Like, this is crazy.
No, I mean, those are the moments where I think like maybe even Dave realized, but as Stooley's looking out, we were like, hold on. This guy, Chris, he might got it. Like he might like when you give that fire, that's what we love to see as Barstool fans. So, I mean, it was an incredible clip. And I think like since then, like you've just been proving them, the right not to fire you. Obviously, I don't think it was a fireable offense, but I think you've been proving other people wrong since. Like we've truly enjoyed getting to know Chris Clemmer as a Barstool Sports employee and personality, and it's been great. I think your climb is only like it's at its beginning, but it's been so much already.
It's ups and downs, though. I'm gonna fuck something up next week.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you're gonna get killed. And when you do it, Chris, I promise you'll be my least of the week.
All right, good.
How it goes.
Good. That's what I deserve. I'll do something so stupid in 2 weeks, I promise. Then you'd be like, this guy's a fucking moron. You're like, you're not wrong.
I'll be like, yeah, but we interviewed that fucking moron. He's a pretty cool guy, though. It's okay.
You can say he's cool. You can say that.
Yeah. I have one last question for you. It's kind of like on a recent piece of content. Some of those stories might not even know about or checked out yet. You were a basketball coach in a documentary. You started as a player and now coach. So,
yes.
How was that like going from player to coach pretty quickly, I'd say. and then coaching a bunch of Barstool guys. There was a clip in there where John Rich is like, I hate taking direction from Klemmer. So like, how is that coaching your coworkers? And are you guys ever going to play New York?
Oh, Chicago.
Chicago. I'm sorry.
We would love to play Chicago whenever they
Right.
want. That's
What's
for
the
sure.
holdup there?
Probably travel schedule. There's a million different things.
Right,
Then
yeah.
it becomes expensive finding all of us out there. I'm sure there's maybe we could even get it sold. Who knows? But no, I love coaching those guys. So I think they'll have me back. I definitely would coach another season for them for sure. It was fun. It was a fun thing to do. It was funny how we all took it very. I swear to God, like we took it very seriously. Like, every loss was crushing. Every win, you felt like you were on top of the world. Like, and the guys, we all kind of bought in and took it as serious. Probably must have been bizarre to anyone playing against us. We have this coach, we have a reporter. Vibbs is a reporter. It was just bizarre. But we would talk about it all week. And like all week, we'd be like, "You guys ready for game?" Like still to this day, like Jet Ski and a lot of the guys, Dana, they see me in the hallway. They're like, "Hey, coach." I'm like, "Hey." So like,
what the fuck?
for real, that's true. Even like this week, I get called coach all the time. But they were were great. Like I loved that. That was so much fun. And we got some more business to take care of. Making the playoffs isn't good enough. We want to win it all. So we've talked. Dana and I have talked about putting together some new additions to the roster. Maybe make us a little better. Make us a little stronger, and hopefully Billy can come back
Maybe
healthy.
Pat Bev.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Maybe that's when it all takes place.
So we did
Pat Bev off season. Pat Bev comes in and just
We asked him to jump in on a game if he could, but he was like he thought about it for a second. He was like, "Oh, I think he had a game that day." But like, imagine if you're playing like, and then all of a sudden we walk through a Pat Bev.
Right. That'd be awesome.
Sorry, guys. I can't play with you guys on Barstool basketball team because I have a game with the Philadelphia 76ers later tonight.
Pat Bev
That's crazy.
Pat Bev is the coolest guy ever. Like he comes in and
He seems like it.
Dude, zero ego. He comes in, he always brings us food whenever he comes in, which is super nice. He shoots the shit with us. He just loves like just chopping up with the guys, with the people in HQ. He's just a blast to be around. It's funny, some people come by and they just like the actor Josh. I always mispronounce his name. Duhamel. Fergie's ex-husband.
Super handsome fucking dude.
Yeah, like the guy is like the most handsome guy in the world.
Yeah, way too handsome and super cool. I think he's on PMT a couple times. But yeah, go ahead.
That's what happened. He did PMT or he did Kevin's show, one of the two. And he could have gone home. It's like, no, hang on. And he came in and just like sat with us for like an hour and just like shot the shit with us. He just wanted to like chop it up with the boys. And like it was just like it's funny that some people come in that have like zero ego. They're just super cool. And you're like, oh, this is a pretty like Pat Bev is like just the coolest guy to be around. He is the coolest guy I've ever met.
Yeah, I'm jealous. He seems like that too. And shout out the Pat Bev and Rome Pod, and sponsored by McDonald's now. Fucking crazy. Like the numbers they're doing as a podcast. He's just a super genuine person. Yeah, it seems that way.
They're killing. And Rowan was like also one of the coolest guys I've ever met. Like those guys together are just a blast. Really
we've met Rowan. We had the opportunity to meet Rowan in Chicago when we went for the dozen. So great time, great guy. Like all time vibes. Yeah. Like
super creative, super collaborative. Like I said, we do those pitch meetings with Kevin. Like Rowan is right there, and like Rowan, you throw an idea at it, and Rowan will like level up it. Be like, oh, what if we did X, Y, and Z? It's like, oh, fuck, that's awesome. I hadn't thought about that. So those are like some of my favorite things to do. Like kind of like talk content with people and kind of brainstorm. I love doing that shit.
Genuine person, and I think that's people are, especially Stoolies, we're a fan of those guys, and which is why I think we've appreciated you, Klemmer. Like you are a genuine person. You are Chris Clemmer, and you're gonna be that guy going forward. And that's why we're excited to see what comes next out of Chris. The rat race it feels like just the beginning of like what that brain's got in it. You may be skinny, you may get small, but you got a decent brain in there. We Stoolies love it. I swear, it's awesome.
I can't say what it is yet, but I'll say this: I have something very weird planned for March.
Okay, all right, very weird.
Very weird.
Very weird. Okay. I look forward to that.
That's what we need. All right. You got anything else, Jonathan?
I don't. I got a big thank you for coming on Barstool Breakdown. We appreciate you. We appreciate John Rich for putting the word out and being so responsive. And we appreciate your content and your grind and your mindset. And we can't wait to see what's next, man. So I thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, boys. Yeah, and
Yeah.
if anyone hasn't watched it, please check out Rad Race. I'm super happy how it came out, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
It's the Barstool Breakdown. Go ahead and give it to me. Breakdown. Let's listen to those guys.